All right, Mal, what's your topic?
So for Mother's Day, my mom came over and we were just going to go out to dinner, but then she said she wanted to go see the King Arthur movie. So I was like, sure, why not? So we went and saw that too. Which I hadn't even really seen much about it, but
I didn't
I
even know
ended
it
up,
was a movie until I went and saw Guardians.
uh, yeah, and I know we talk about reviews a lot, but this one on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, was around 28. And the other movie that came out this weekend, Alien Covenant, when it first came out, it was in like the 70s. But everything I've seen online is like people have been really disappointed with Aliens, and they felt like this movie was way better than they would have thought. So I don't know. It just
It's
shows,
like
I
the
guess, how much.
reverse.
Yeah, it shows how much like I guess reviews can mess with expectations, or I don't know. Like people, I guess, expected this to be garbage, and then they were just pleasantly surprised when it wasn't. Yeah, it was pretty good, I guess. I liked it, but I like Guy Ritchie movies because it's by Guy Ritchie about King Arthur. Guy Ritchie did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and then the Robert Downing Sherlock Holmes movies,
Oh, okay.
and A Man from U.N.C.L.E. is his other most recent one. I like all those movies a lot.
So,
but,
what part of the mythos is this?
It's basically how he comes to power and becomes king and whatnot. It's the origin story, basically. It starts with Uther Pendragon, his father, defending against an evil mage Mordred. So it's not really necessarily following it like the original stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of its own mythos.
Yeah, it's just borrowing. I mean, there have been quite a few versions in the almost 1,000 years he's been around.
Oh, yeah.
Uther defeats Mordred with the power of Excalibur, and basically after that, his brother tries to overthrow him and ends up dying, and only Arthur escapes with him, being sent Moses style down a river, and he ends up in like the slums, being some women washing clothes find him and in the boat and take him in. I think he grows up in basically like inn/brothel type place in the seedy parts of Londinium is the name of the city, which I think is the name of a city outside of Rome, but I don't think it was ever the name. I don't know if it was ever the name of Londinium
Yeah, it sounds Latin.
or London. But yeah, so it then goes on. It moves on to showing a nice montage of him growing up, basically him learning the ropes of the slums and self-defense and whatnot. And then in present day, the story starts off and it goes on to the more fantasy stuff of, there's an evil king, a resistance, a prophecy, and a magic sword. They combine Excalibur and the Sword and the Stone, like most of the modern retellings. So they are two separate swords in the original stuff.
I didn't realize that.
Because the Sword and the Stone is the one he pulls, and then the Lady in the Lake gives him Excalibur at a different time.
I think
And
the
this
sword
one-
and the stone was his father's sword in the original mythos. I can't remember exactly.
Nah,
Because I know in
No.
some like the early stuff, the Lady in the Lake is also the Morrigan, or is the Morrigan, but which is also Morgan Le Fay as you get into Gaelic mythos.
Oh yeah, but the Lady in the Lake in this one is connected to the sword because she's the one who binds it to the Pendragon bloodline, basically. And they also do kind of they have an interesting take on how it gets in the stone, ties it back to the importance of blood and whatnot, bloodlines in the Arthurian stories. Yeah, so the biggest flaw is its pacing. It could have easily have been two movies. And allow everything to kind of breathe. Like, I love the first bit. Like, I think the first part of the movie is way better with him, showing off him in the slums, and then even just
him
like
being slummy sounds more interesting to me. If you're gonna
Yeah.
kind of,
it's
your
a
own
very
thing
Guy
with it.
Ritchie thing too. He likes his like your British gangster type characters.
Yeah.
So there's a prophecy about the son of Uther coming back, taking the sword and saving everyone, basically. So he has everyone of around the right age try and pull the sword and then get branded, and some stuff happens and they find out he hasn't tried, so he goes, and then sure enough, he can pull it out, and he ends up having to get saved by the resistance. So that's so he joins up with them, not necessarily willingly though. Arthur's really the only character that gets shown off well, like as far as character development and stuff. They do a good job of painting how he's a lead, or like showing him as a leader with the way, like his decisions kind of, or at least, and how he acts and how others act around him. But yeah, no one else really shines through as far as like character development. It's just, again, it's too quickly paced.
Yeah,
the acting's. What?
Well, one thing I heard about the film series in general was that they originally wanted to do a trilogy, and then I guess whoever bought I think the writer basically wanted
Warner
to do that.
Brothers,
and then whoever bought
probably.
The script didn't want to do
well,
that.
It definitely felt like they were setting it up for a franchise.
Yeah, so that's probably a reason why. Like, I mean, you were saying the pacing was didn't have enough room to breathe. That's probably why you didn't get so much more character development, I would guess.
Yeah. But the acting is well done for pretty much everyone with what they're given, basically. I mean, except for the woman who plays the mage, which she's the only real mage in it. Like, and they have their own kingdom of mages in this.
Isn't Guinevere the mage in this one?
They everywhere except I think Rotten Tomatoes lists her as just the mage, which led me to believe it's either Guinevere or Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah. So there's no like marriage at the end of the movie that lets you know for sure she's Guinevere or anything.
No, they'd never state her name or anything.
And Lancelot isn't in the movie either, is he?
No. It's again like it's all like how it's all there to set up him being king. Like they definitely could do sequels, but everyone else does a good job. So because I don't know if they're trying to play her off as mages are cryptic or different from normal people and whatnot.
Do you know if it did well at the box office this weekend? I'd probably give you a telling sign if it's going to get a sequel or not.
It has a better rating than the Aliens movie at 7.4 currently to 7. Because, again, I think people generally liked it who went and saw it. But I think it's pulled about 50 million worldwide, and it's 175 million budget.
That's not good.
No, it'll probably... I don't know. Eventually, it'll probably eventually clear budget, but maybe... It's not going to be considered a success, I don't think.
Yeah.
Jude Law plays the villain as Vortigern. I'm trying to remember who actually played King Arthur. He was from Band of Brothers, I think. Charlie Hunnam.
Never heard of him.
Or no, Sons of Anarchy. And it was what I guess he was in.
He's like a TV actor, basically.
Kind of. He was in Pacific Rim as a character. I don't remember, but I don't remember any of the characters in Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
What was his name? What was the name?
Raleigh Beckett.
Oh, Raleigh, yeah.
So he did a great job. And then Jude Law as the evil King Vortigern did a great job, but with what he was given again, because he kind of was just like, I'm an evil king who wants more power. So not a lot of motivation there. I don't know. It's a very basic story. But overall, I liked it. It's a fun movie. It had a really good soundtrack, which does a lot for me because of how much I value music in all things. The world building was cool, and the look, especially at the end, like some magic stuff. I don't know how to quite describe it. Just some of the some stuff you could see with creatures and stuff. It looked really cool. The main town, Londinium, and the salute of the bad guys. They showed off Roman influences, which makes sense for the time Arthur's supposed to be alive because it's just past Roman occupation of Britain.
Yeah.
And Vortigern's building a tower that was having difficulties. So things like that show off, they definitely did the research and then blatantly chose to go a different way. Because in original mythos, Vortigern is trying to build a tower and it keeps sinking every day into or at the end of every day. And they're like, let's kill this guy and spill his blood on the ground. That should help. And that guy ends up being Merlin. Merlin's not in this movie except in a background.
I want them to one day adapt. One of my favorite books is The Once and Future King. It's basically the whole kind of Arthur legend across 4 parts of, I think it was 4 different books at one point in T.H. Watt, I believe. And the first part is what the Disney Sword in the Stone movie is kind of based off of.
Right.
And it's just my favorite because Arthur's the main character in the first part of the book and kind of the last book. And he doesn't even really matter for the rest of it. It more focuses on Lancelot, and Lancelot normally is kind of like a pretty boy swordsman, He's like the perfect French
Yeah,
knight.
he's like the purest knight, right? I think.
Yeah, and
Or no, that's Galahad.
in the Once and Future King, yeah, it's Lancelot's son. And Once and Future King, he's like ugly and deformed, and he's like not confident in his ability at all. But he has the whole romance with Guinevere, and she sees something in him. And a lot of the book is about him kind of like trying to find out what makes him a hero. It's really interesting. I'd love for that.
So you
to be
really
adapted
want a Lancelot movie?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Arthur stuff too because he's basically he's Lancelot's best friend and he's just oblivious to everything that's going on. Like with Guinevere, he's super concerned about like doing the best thing for Britain, and he messes up a lot because obviously he has the bastard son with it's his relative. I think it's like his half sister. And the last book is all about him having to deal with the consequences of his failure, so he has to fight against his bastard son. It's what ends up eventually causing his death. Yeah, and kind of like the stuff with Lancelot and all this stuff. So it's just really good.
Right.
It's something that would really do well as like a mini series or like a set of movies.
Yeah, that's a big book. I had to read it in high school.
Yeah,
lots there.
But I don't know. The making Arthur like growing up instead of having like Merlin teaching him, having being like a scallywag ruffian, like slumming on the streets, is an interesting take, at least.
Yeah, I really liked it, but again, I like Guy Ritchie movies, and the visuals really cool. I'm glad I saw it on the big screen. I'd recommend it to someone, like if they wanted something fun and pretty to watch, but the story's nothing special. So
I'll probably wait till it comes out.
Yeah, if you like Guy Ritchie's other movies, you'll probably enjoy this one.
That's been episode 10 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and now topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Fridays. Check us out on social media. We're at twitter.com/podcast5r, Facebook at P5R Podcast. We have our YouTube URL now, which is just /podcast of Five Rings. And be sure to check out Meta and his stream on Twitch again whenever he's feeling well. But that's it for this week. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
See you.